Hello, thank you for joining me on this week's edition of Falcon Focus. I'm your host, Vaughn Purdy with Simmons College of Kentucky. One of the things I promised was to introduce you to the many students of our school, because the reason we exist is because of our students. So I'm very happy to have with us today a student who I'm very proud of. She's a sociology major and a junior, and who's here in the studio with me, and her name is Destiny Wheatley.
Hello, thank you for allowing me to be here today.
Very happy to have you here. So tell me about how you heard about Simmons College.
So if I recall correctly, I first attended Simmons in 2015, and I want to say that I saw Dr. Cosby on the news talking about the school, and I had never heard of it before. Being from E-Town, it was something that was definitely not told about.
Right.
The only HBCU that we heard about was K-State, and actually that was the first HBCU I attended.
Okay. Now, for our audience's benefit who don't know what E-Town is, tell them what E-Town stands for, and
so
if you grew up in E-Town, what high school did you attend?
So E-Town is Elizabethtown. It's actually 45 minutes south of Louisville. I actually graduated from Elizabethtown High School as well. So I will say that E-Town is predominantly white institution, and so I knew from the beginning that I definitely wanted to attend a HBCU. It's definitely more so because, you know, I didn't have the ability to be around like my people, you know, growing up from, you know, start of school to the end of high school.
So what is the percentage of minorities in E-Town? About 10%? 20? Maybe?
At E-Town High School, I would say it's probably about 5%.
Oh, okay. So that is probably why you didn't hear about
exactly.
Simmons College in Kentucky.
So the most popular HBCU that everyone knows in Kentucky is K-State.
Right.
So anytime that I say I'm going to Simmons, people are like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, it's the second HBCU in Kentucky. And they was like, oh, I never heard of that. And then, of course, I'll go into explaining and giving them some more information on the school.
And that's why we do this show, because Simmons College, we like to think of Simmons College of Kentucky as being a gem in the city that people don't know about.
Absolutely.
So your journey began in 2015?
Yes.
So when you came in, what were your intentions? Did you have a major picked out, or what happened?
When I first attended here, I had a lot going on, I'll be honest. Just a few years prior to that, I did have my mother pass away.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And so I was still kind of struggling with getting back into school. I was trying to work full time, and so with everything that was going on, I ended up taking it back from school during that time, and then I just came back in 2018.
Okay. Now, what brought you back?
So I definitely loved the atmosphere that Simmons has. It's definitely catered to the student. Like even when I attended K-State, it's like you have some smaller classes, but it's still a little bit harder to kind of grasp the campus lifestyle.
Okay.
So for Simmons, it's a better way to, I guess, integrate when it comes to making that transition from like high school to college.
Okay. Because for those who don't know, Simmons has an enrollment of about 250 students, which gives our students more of an intimate experience on campus. So generally, most of the students know professors, they know administrators, and they know the president. They're we're all pretty tightly knit community on and off campus. So a student like Destiny can come here and find her place. And that's one thing, not only Simmons, but HBCUs as a whole, the reason people seek out HBCUs is because of that experience.
Exactly.
And so I'm glad you found us. Now tell us a little bit what made you pick your major. I mentioned you were a sociology major. Why did you pick sociology?
So when I first went to school, I kind of wanted to do something in like social work / psychology. And then I never heard of sociology. And then when I was deciding to come here, it was like, of course, we do have a smaller net of degrees that we can obtain here. But once I looked into sociology, I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. Because growing up, I was always interested in different cultures and learning about even different religions. And Simmons gives me exactly that knowledge, especially with them being a historically biblical college. And then we are also studying like society abroad.
Okay, great. Now, I know you have one of the, I shouldn't say this, it shows my bias. I have a confession. I started out as a sociology major. I attended Winston-Salem State University and HBCU in North Carolina. I started out to be a sociology major, but I changed. I switched. I thought I wanted something different, and I changed to communications. So what made you stick with sociology? What do you want to do when you graduate with sociology?
So I'm hoping to go into the field that I'm actually interning in at now, which is working in like the social work or working with like lower income individuals, trying to, assist them in, hopefully getting a better life than where they're currently at.
Okay, great. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break right now. And when we come back, we're going to get more information. And Destiny is going to talk about her internship that she mentioned and tell you about our community partners that help our students out with internships, scholarships, and ways to keep them in the community to make a difference.
Simmons College of Kentucky has recently announced the formation of the Kerner Commission 2.0, not to duplicate the work of the original, but to pick up the mantle and begin the work that was laid out. And on today, the 53rd anniversary, I'm offering my support to the work of the Kerner Commission 2.0.
This initiative is going to have 4 targets. The first is to educate the community about Black issues. When people from outside of the community see problems taking place within the community, or even situations that they believe are problems, they come in with what we call a deficit-based approach to solving those problems. And that deficit-based approach, it takes for granted that the community's broken. It takes for granted that the community has nothing to offer.
That is not true. Scattered throughout West Louisville are indigenous, community-based institutions that are doing great things. The reason why the community is still strong is because of these institutions that many in the larger community has not taken the time to find out about, and to be quite frankly, sometimes don't have confidence in because of biases.
Rutgers scholar Nancy DiTomaso pointed out the difference between formalized structural racism and an informal racism.
Today, racism is maintained not primarily by what white people and white institutions and philanthropy and government does against Black people, but it's what philanthropy does for white people that they will not do for Black people.
Tremendously discouraging. So the impact of that philanthropic redlining goes from year to year and decade to decade, and sadly, it can be traced from generation to generation.
And so this partnership with Simmons College of Kentucky has been so important, and we're going to get better and continue that development for years to come. And I think I know it will be a game changer for us in our racial equity policy and getting more African American people to the classroom.
But we're saying, let's look at what we have in the community already. And if we have something that's working, then let's build on it. Let's support it. No one knows a community and the needs of a community like the people that live in that community.
The commission will help the larger community understand what is there in West Louisville, to raise awareness throughout the state about the assets.
Where you realize that we offer value that this community has value, not only for Louisville, but for the larger whole United States, then when you're coming in, you're sharing your assets. You're investing in people that have the potential to make your life better.
Welcome back to this week's edition of Falcon Focus. With me again is Destiny Wheatley, a sociology major at Simmons College of Kentucky. Destiny, tell us a little bit more so about your internship and how you found out about it.
So I actually had a connection with my teacher, who is amazing, Dr. C.
She is quite amazing.
She is brilliant.
Yeah.
I definitely love her. She definitely pushes me to do much better than I thought I could do. But she actually sent me an email and connected me with Miss Marilyn Harris, who is the director of the Louisville Develop program for the Housing Authority. She has me doing Eviction Diversion program.
Yes.
So what that pretty much entails is all the people that were affected by COVID-19 that either lost their jobs or had to take some time off because of COVID-19 in any type of way, fashion, or form. We are actually had a grant given to us by the federal government of $22 million. As well as most recently 11 million additionally.
So is that just limited, the 22 and 11 additional is limited to just Louisville's organization?
Yes.
So how many clients do you all have? Because that seems like a lot of money, but tell people the percentage of people, how long does it take people to get back on their feet? Because we all know we're in 1 year of COVID. So how is it helping?
It's definitely helping a lot, because we have a few people who haven't had any type of assistance for the entire year.
Okay.
So they have been on eviction notice since last March. Then we also have about right now 800 people that we're working through. So far since I've worked there, we've probably gotten through 200 people where we've actually sent the checks out to the landlords, and that's what I work on, is basically processing those invoices so we can get those checks sent out as soon as possible.
So tell our audience what's the average time it takes from a person once they apply to get the check to the landlord.
So that is hard to say, and it's only because there's a lot of paperwork that comes into play. So if you apply to the program and say we have to outsource it, because it's a lot of course, requests coming in and we don't have enough people. Right. So we have to outsource a bit of it as well. So depending on when they're able to get every single piece of the paperwork.
And that's got to be grueling, a lot of information.
Yes.
So do you actually call people on the telephone and say, I need this, 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 and this?
Yes.
How's that work?
So we do reach out either by email or by calling them and let them know, like, hey, this wasn't done correctly, or we need more information on how COVID affected you. So it is very thorough. Some people unfortunately don't qualify because there are a lot of stipulations to the program. So you have to be like, COVID had to actually affect your job, and it can't be like, oh, you decided to take 2 weeks off, so now you're eligible, which some people think that that's how that goes, which is not. So, but we do have hundreds of people that we're helping at this point with the program. So it's definitely helped a lot of people. I know that recently I had an individual who was outsourced to the organization and whose paperwork came back within, like, I would say 30 days. Okay. So that's probably like the shortest time that I've seen it come back.
So do they get enough to just erase the back debt? Do they get enough to go forward as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So what happens is they'll go ahead and pay all the back rent. Okay. What we don't do is we don't pay any late fees. Like once we step in, like once they go to eviction court, because that's the first process, then that's when we, the judge will say, hey, well, I have this program for you that you can step into, and then that's when we'll step in and we'll pay all the back rent. the landlord then has to waive all the late fees.
Okay.
And then we also pay 3 months forward.
That sounds like a really good program, and it's especially relevant right now based on the impact and the effects of COVID that are still being seen in the community. So this program has hired you as an intern. How many other interns are in place, or is it people part-time, full-time, and interns?
So they have been hiring some full-time individuals, but they have different parts of the program. But for my particular program, they've probably hired about 10 interns so far. Okay. There's, I believe, 3 or 4 more that's supposed to be starting pretty soon as well.
Okay. And Dr. C was the one that connected you with it. One thing about Dr. Nancy C, she is a very community-oriented. She's very engaged with the students. She's very thoughtful about the students, and she wants the best for our students. So she's always looking out for opportunities for our students, and we have to applaud her for doing that. She is what an HBCU professor should be. She's always reaching back and caring for her students, so we applaud her for that. She's very proactive to connect our students to city and state resources and to make sure they have careers post-graduation. So tell us a little bit about what, do you see this as a career for you? You've been working in this, so it gets at the nurturing piece of being in sociology.
Yes.
So is it addressing what you want to do post-graduation?
Absolutely. Okay. Dr. C just pretty much hit it, and honestly, like, I feel like this was God. Like, I'll just say it, like, I feel like timing was perfect, because I actually recently just left a full-time job where I didn't really see that upward mobility for something that I would call a career. Okay. And this internship gives me exactly like that fulfillment that I have been really yearning for. Okay. So I definitely see that this has the potential into turning into something permanent. They do have some openings that will come up later in the year, so I'm hoping I can apply and possibly stay there.
I'm pretty sure you'll be right in there. Now, how long have you been doing the internship, and how long does it last?
So I started the internship March 1st, and it lasts until the end of this year. So December is the last date.
Oh, great.
But since they got that extra funding.
Okay, you can be working longer.
Yes,
right.
So it has the potential to last a little bit longer than that.
Okay. So is it what's your typical day like? How many hours do you put in? How do you fit in your schoolwork?
So right now, actually, I was doing 40 hours at first, and then I realized that's probably not a good idea.
If you want to finish school.
Yes. So with balancing my work life and my school life, I decided to opt in to just do 34 hours. If I could do more time that week, I will. But if I can't, she's very flexible. Okay. And that's what I love about this internship, because Ms. Harris is very understanding that we all are going to school full time. And if we do need to step aside and do like a class that day, she's like, you can leave and come back, or you can go ahead and do class in like one of our rooms, and that'll be fine as well. So
it sounds like this one is on site. It's not a Zoom or virtual internship?
It is on site, but you do have the option to work at home if you would like to. I think that the aesthetic, like being in the office, is just a little bit different from working at home, so I like it a lot better.
So how do you engage with your clients at home? Do you call them on the phone? Do they come in the office? Because we still have to adhere to COVID right now.
So everything with the clients who we interact with everything is virtual. Okay. So it's either through email, by phone, and anytime they actually go to even court, it's all virtual as well. So it's all video, Zoom.
So have you been to court as well? Is that a part of your responsibilities to assist clients with going to court and helping them answer the questions?
So it's not, but she did want us to like attend at least one session to kind of learn like the inner workings of it all. So I did attend one session over Zoom to just kind of see the process of everything. So it was pretty interesting, I will say that.
Okay. Now, I think it'll be interesting to see how you transition from no Zooms to in-person with clients. Do you know much about the program before? How old is the program, and were they engaging with clients before COVID, or this is a result of COVID? Or was there always an eviction court?
So this is definitely a result of COVID, the start of this program. Now, there has always been kind of certain stipulations to help people, like, out with their rent in certain situations, but I will say that those stipulations were probably a little bit more harsh and less lenient than the COVID.
Okay, interesting. So tell us what a good day looks like for you in this job.
So a good day, I will say when every, because, there's different folders that I guess you can say that I work with, and so there's different groups. The main folder that I'm supposed to interact with is the ones that are coming from the organizations that we outsource it to.
Okay.
And as long as everything is done right and everything is correct in the folder when I check it, and I'm able to just go ahead and just send it straight off, and we're able to go ahead and process those checks, the very next week is a great day for me. I will say that some people aren't as thorough as me. So,
that's because you're a Simmons College of Kentucky student.
Exactly. So I definitely will say that I like to pay attention to detail. So I catch some stuff and I'm just like, well, okay, so I have to do a little bit of extra work and a little extra leg work, but it's okay. We'll get it done. That's not how my mentality is. So
good. I'm sure Ms. Harris will notice that, and hopefully you'll maybe be a supervisor. Do you think this is something you may want to do as a career, or would you like to look at different aspects of sociology? Because the field is wide open. There's so many different aspects of sociology.
There is. I've thought about it, even with talking to Dr. C. I kind of thought about going into education a little bit more, mainly because I would love to actually teach abroad for maybe like a year or two. But then I have gotten this position and I'm just like, I think I've fallen in love.
Oh, that is wonderful.
So,
I'm sure Dr. C will be proud of her efforts. I think it's just wonderful. It's not often that you find something that you really like to do, and then to find it before you even graduate.
Exactly.
Is wonderful if you think that's your passion. It looks like it is.
Yes.
So I think that's wonderful for you. So tell me a little bit more. I should have dug back on before you came to Simmons. Did you come from high school straight to Simmons, or did you work other jobs? Were they in sociology, or what did you do?
I've had a lot of jobs, but when I first transitioned out of high school, I first went to K-State. That's the first school first college I had attended. I took a year hiatus and then attended K-State. Then, a lot of complications happened, and then I ended up back in school. I went to the community college.
Okay.
Then from the community college, I decided to attend Simmons once I actually heard about it, and then. Here we are.
Yeah, that's good. Now, you are a rising junior. You are a rising senior. When will you be going, in the fall of 2021, will you be a junior still or a senior?
I'll still be a junior in the fall. So next spring is when I'll be a senior.
Okay. So tell me about, I think a part of the graduation requirements are internships and just that part of it. And what about the class curriculum? Do you find that you're getting what you need from the curriculum and the teachers here at Simmons?
Absolutely. I will say that there's some classes where I have struggled in. They have definitely been challenging, but challenging in a good way.
Right, that's good.
I definitely, especially with Dr. C's classes, like her classes like really push you to achieve more and to grow. Okay. And I think that I didn't have that at some of the other colleges that I attended. I felt like it was probably, I was just like on a straight beam. Mm-hmm. But here it's just like, be better, do better, go the distance.
That's great. That's great. She's a wonderful, positive role model. So do you find it, we're all still in Zoom right now. We will be for a little while. We should hopefully be out in August, hopefully when school starts back again on campus. So how do you like the Zoom versus actually being in person?
I need to be in person.
I hear a lot of our students say that.
I definitely prefer to be in person. like, I'm a hands-on learner just in general. So this transition has been a difficult one for me. I definitely struggled with it the end of last year and then last semester, and I'm still fighting some other things now, but I'm kind of getting used to it more, of course, because we've been in it for like 2 semesters now, and it's not as if I haven't done online classes before, but the problem with those is that I tend to fail because it's just not the same.
Right. It is totally different for students here and students across the country. But I'm hoping you're going to be able to get the support and the resources you need from Dr. C to make sure you finish and stay focused on your sociology career. It sounds like you're doing a great job. Yeah. So is there anything else you want the viewers to know about your future plans and how the HBCU experience has benefited you?
So I will say that it's definitely opened a lot of doors for me that I didn't even think that I could walk through.
That is a number one goal of ours, to do that.
So I will urge people to look into Simmons. I even want to hopefully connect with my high school and do some type of visitation to our school. I was hoping that we could have done that last year before COVID hit, but hopefully whenever this subsides, we'll be able to make some arrangements to do that.
Well, I think the recruitment office might want to work with you to help them, because we have wonderful people in recruitment, but it's always a good idea to have an extra hand. So a student like you who's motivated and who can talk about the positives of Simmons College of Kentucky would be beneficial. So I think that is a wonderful thing. Do you ever think about you might want to go on to graduate school?
I have thought about getting my master's degree, and that's another good thing about Simmons. Simmons has a lot of connections with other colleges like Spalding, like U of L. So it definitely has some options with that. But as of right now, I'm like, let me just finish my bachelor's.
One step at a time. Well, Destiny, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. You have such a wonderful story, and I'm glad people are here to listen to it. So just remember, you can come back and be my guest another time when you've gone out in the community and done some really, really fabulous more things that you're doing now, because you're doing a great job and you're a great representation for Simmons. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you all at home for tuning in to SSC Live TV, where it's TV our way. Join me again on next week's edition of Falcon Focus.